All right, we live, bro. What's good? How you feeling, man?
I'm good. I'm alive. How about you?
I'm feeling great, man. Feeling great, great beyond better, as Kodak Black would say. But
Facts.
but yeah, man, bro. So we gotta talk, bro. It's been a while since I think it's been a while since you've been on the channel, honestly. But we
I
gotta
wonder
talk.
how many people like actually remember me,
You were like
or if they have fond memories of me.
the first. You said what?
I was like, oh, I wonder if people have fond memories of me if they remember me. So
Facts, facts, facts. But let's go ahead and get into this, man. We gotta talk about this man, Kanye, bro. And I know everybody, and literally everybody just did that as soon as I said it. Like, why do we have to talk about this? Da da da. Like, I don't know. Like, I kind of want to, because I want to make an effort to integrate more like social stuff onto the channel now instead of just talking like serious all the time. Like niggas is serious all the fucking time. Like, what is that?
right.
So
I mean, like that's people like talking about like social stuff. So
facts, bro. And it's like, all right, so off rip, like I guess we could just talk about the White Lives Matter shirt first, because I found the Tucker Carlson interview interesting too, but we could talk about that first. What were you like one of the people that was like, oh my god, like why is he wearing that, blah blah blah, or were you like in the group that's like, oh Kanye is doing shit again? Okay,
I was more so Kanye's doing shit again. Like high key after the oof. So I used to be like a hardcore Kanye stan, but after 2018, he said slavery was a choice, quotation marks. I kind of started to very slowly hop off that train. So it's like he's back in the news. I don't really, you know.
facts. I remember like because you were the one that was like, he's like back when he was doing the Trump stuff and everything. You were like, he's doing it for a reason. You were like defending him, and I was like mad back then and shit. Like, oh fuck him, he doesn't care about black people no more. Da da da. Then like I low key became a Trump supporter, as you remember, and then it was like I'm in this weird phase now where it's like I'm just like I'm like listening to what he's saying because I feel like most people aren't even listening to what he's saying, and I'm just like it just doesn't make sense. It's like, all right, bet. Like just 2 months ago, you were talking about, oh, black people are oppressed by white people. Like my black kids are being pimped out by their white mother, blah, 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 this, that, and the third. I mean, I remember back in the day, he kept arguing Kim was a woman of color, but now all of a sudden she's a white woman now because, whatever is going on between them. But I just find it on that level, it's like obviously like, all right, this nigga wants to be black when like issues, of blackness are coming up towards him, because I think those are issues of blackness. But
Right.
then you want to go around and pile around with like white people matter t-shirts in Europe and shit. Like it's just weird. Like it's weird, and then it just doesn't make sense. And I guess we could get into like I wanted to get the surface level stuff out first, so we could just like dive into that. Like this whole divide of like Black Lives Matter, I, all lives matter. I feel like some Black Lives Matter people have kind of adopted all lives matter type of thing. Kind of. Am I like wrong in assuming that?
I wouldn't say so. Like I think the issue with Black Lives Matter was originally just the branding. Like white people didn't really take too kindly of, oh my God, Black Lives Matter? That means white lives don't matter. And they created this false dichotomy of the two.
But
So
I think
like
that's
I
kind of what
get it.
Kanye's doing, though. That's basically what he's doing right now.
I mean, hey, even if he's doing that, it's just one of those things to where like, but why? Like
Facts, facts. Because it's like it's almost like at this point, I feel like even like conservatives now are kind of like understanding of like, okay, like they're not saying like white lives don't matter. Like a lot of the arguments I basically hear about BLM is about like destroying property and shit like that. Like going back to 2020. That's all I hear as of late. I don't hear like, well, white lives don't matter, because I feel like the real people, not the organization. And I think that's another thing too, like the
right.
distinguishing the organization from the actual like movement, Black Lives Matter. It's like I think that Kanye is still like stuck in like 2017, honestly, 2016, where like white people are still arguing like, oh, so white lives don't matter. Like I feel like only boomers are still saying that now. Like, yo, bro.
Facts. Like I honestly, I don't care. Not to sound like one of those nihilists or whatever, but like no lives matter. Ooh, look what I did
No
there. Like
lives
it's
matter. Yeah, that is a fucking nihilist hipster take. but nah, but and also it's like when these celebrities, and that's kind of where I want to get into the Candace Owens of it too. So Candace Owens will be a person that decries celebrities all day. I mean, at this point, her career is literally just like picking a celebrity to shit on. That's literally all she's doing. And I got a little spicy take. Joe Budden kind of had my opinion on this too, and he kind of said it before I got to say it like anywhere, but I'm about to say it in a minute. But Candace Owens will decry celebrities all day, but now all of a sudden, because a celebrity agrees with you, you're out palling around with them. Like my thing is for Candace Owens, how is this any different like than like AOC wearing a tax the rich dress at the Met Gala or whatever? Like it's literally the same thing.
quite literally the same. And it's just the amount of cognitive dissonance with some of these people is just mind blowing. Like, I'm not a fan of like pulling people down into like the hypocrite argument, quote unquote, but like, come on now. Like, this is getting slightly off topic. This is people, conservatives, getting upset at Colin Kaepernick for taking a knee. But Drew Brees is a good Christian man.
Yeah, for
It's like
saying like
what
just some run of the mill boomer shit.
boomer shit. And I'm like,
It's like, bro, you're around black people all day. Like, talk to them. Like, that's all you play with for the NFL is black people. You should probably talk to them. Like, and I get that point. I definitely get that point.
like,
and I guess for
again,
me, go ahead, my bad.
Oh, I mean, I was going a little bit off topic, but it's the same principle. Like, you'll decry someone because they have this social status one moment, but then the moment someone with that social status agrees with you, oh, they're such a great person. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. And it's like it's also weird seeing him like getting involved in like this like almost like international like right wing conservative like movement kind of, because like I don't know if you've been peeping, but like a lot of them have basically like been talking about the Brazilian elections down with like Bolsonaro and Lula and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like this whole concept, like, so it's a YouTube channel on here called the Convo Couch. They cover like a lot of the election stuff and everything, and they were like down there in Brazil covering the elections because their whole thing is election and election integrity and everything like that. And like you have these like right wing people like screaming about how like Lula's stealing the election or whatever and all. Like I think Alex Jones and them like were covering it kind of on his like website or whatever. And it's like y'all are completely ideology driven now, if that makes sense. Like y'all, it's almost like their ideology. I found myself agreeing with them a lot because their ideology were like more in line with the facts, but then when they skew away from that, they look almost as ridiculous as like the liberals I can't stand. You feel me? Like I'm like,
Oh yeah.
there's no difference between y'all. Y'all are like the same fucking thing, just on different ideological spectrums and everything.
I mean, I agree with that. It's just it's frustrating, you know.
I mean, to say the least. Like, and this is a motherfucker. It's this one dude. His name's the Company Man. I forgot exactly.
Yes.
He's fucking amazing, bro. He's fucking amazing. He broke it down perfectly. He was like, Kanye has been pimping black pain, and now he's moved on basically to pimping white pain or white pain, basically. And it's like,
Facts.
he pimped his own pain with Through the Wire. Like he basically like used his accident as a marketing tool, which fine. You want to use that for yourself, fine. But then like you have a guy that I feel like he really stepped into that political light, obviously with songs like Jesus Walks and all his songs on College Dropout and his second project I'm drawing a blank on. It's my favorite one, but
Late registration.
Yeah. But when he really came out with Katrina and was speaking out about Katrina and everything like that, like that's when he really became like a prominent political black voice. And I feel like that's when black people really started latching on to him the way they were. And it's almost like, in a sense, he's always done this, used like these issues as a marketing tool, basically, because then lo and behold, he's like selling merch, later on. So it's like,
I mean, for what it's worth, George Bush didn't care about black people.
Yeah, I agree.
Not to be that person, but like he said, on national television what the entire country was thinking, which, hey, I think I think it says something about Kanye. Uh, he's definitely savvy and aware of, the vibes in the room quite a bit, but it's eh, again, like you were saying, it's the fact that he'll ride it out to a certain point, use it, you know, capitalize on it, and then the moment he has a change of heart, boop.
Yeah, someone because I remember he like cut off Candace Owens last time. Like he just stopped talking to her. They had like a little beef afterwards, I think too.
God damn. What was it over? Because this is news to me.
Well, it was over her, like over him, like distancing himself from her. He said because he was like he felt like he was being like
That's right. Like he was
yeah,
being used. And
basically,
then
yeah. And now you're like
I
back again, and it's like, okay, are you going to say the same thing again when you sell out all your merch?
I mean, like I loved Kanye's music. I'll still play everything up until TLOP.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know because I still be bumping Kids See Ghost personally, so
Okay, you're right. You're right.
that's an
Kids
amazing
See
project.
Ghost. Oh fuck. All right. So this is a little bit off topic, right? It's weird because in the black community and in the hip hop community, everyone has a favorite Kanye album. Like you just have to.
I feel like most black people like everything before, like Dark Twisted Fantasy and before, and
Yeah,
and then they skip and go to like Life of Pablo, and then after that it's like done basically,
maybe Kids See Ghost.
and a little bit of Donda.
Yo, like, god damn it. I am going to, I guess, talk about myself really quick. The reason I'm kind of bringing this up is like last year when I was in basic and AIT, I remember I was talking to my um XL, right? He's a second lieutenant, someone who just I shouldn't be talking to, but we're just chopping it up about our favorite Kanye albums and like what it meant to us because he was only like what 4 or 5 years older than me.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah. So like he'll walk in one morning humming Kids See Ghost, and it's just like, oh shit,
Kids See
you
Ghost
know?
sometimes. Kids
Yeah.
See Ghost. That's my shit, bro.
And
I even
it's one
peeped.
of those things to where like, not my fault. Continue.
I was gonna say I even peeped. Most Def was there too, but he was wearing like White Lives.
Lies matter.
Yeah, White
Yes.
Lives Matter. Yeah, he was wearing that shirt. So I guess like see, and that's my thing too. I'm not like me talking about this. I'm all for Kanye having his own opinion about stuff because as we're about to get to, like you already know what my critique is. My critique has always been Kanye West is part of the bourgeoisie elite. He's a billionaire. Why are like you're like because we've been talking about this a lot lately. Like, why are we holding stock in niggas like Jay-Z as black people, like Jay-Z,
Oh, facts.
Beyonce, all these like multi-billionaires and shit like that as like some beacon of like, oh, this is going to be our hope in America. Like, nah, because my point is Malcolm X's point, and everybody loves talking about Malcolm X, even Candace Owens, but they don't actually like to talk about what Malcolm X stood
Uh,
for and believed. Like, you can't seek you can't seek what is the word I'm looking for? Our salvation is not going to be through the mechanism that enslaved us in the first place, which is
Capitalism,
capitalism.
of course.
Exactly. And that's what I feel like Kanye has always been. Like, I'll have debates with my homie Miro all the time. Miro he'll be telling me like, oh man, Kanye West told you, land's for sale. So black people, we need to go get our money up, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, bro, we tried that after Reconstruction. We tried or during Reconstruction. We tried that. And when
We got lynched for it.
yeah,
Like,
and when that wealth started competing with the other wealthy families in the country, they systematically decimated it using a lot of the reactionary elements in the country at that time. That
mhm.
were right wing at that time, but still, I think now liberals are a bigger detriment than conservatives are right now. But that's a whole nother argument. Um,
Mm.
but and that's kind of where I agree with him at. But I think the problem is that we don't like just because like just because you have somebody who's a billionaire and successful and preaching all this black empowerment stuff doesn't mean no all skin folk is not your kinfolk. We like that's like
Big
the saying in the
facts.
black community, bro. And I think people have to keep learning that with Kanye, but I think it's even that has to be applied to like the wolves in sheep's clothing, niggas like Jay-Z. What's his face from he's in that duo rap group with the white guy. Killer Mike, niggas like that. Like those are the niggas you need to be
That
watching.
okay. I I hate the fact that you brought up Killer Mike because I'll say this much. He's definitely the closest to a socialist within that camp.
He's a reformist.
Yeah.
Reformists are the apologetic wing of fascism. That's what they've always been. They were the ones that led us into World War II. They were the ones that signed the Germans up to die in World War One. That's all they are. They're appeasers to capitalism instead of trying to dismantle it.
Well, I'll say this much. I do think it's important to separate the art and the artist, right?
Oh yeah, I could do that. Like I can say Jay-Z is like a top
One
10
of the
rapper.
like
I respect
goat.
him musically, but outside of that, so I definitely feel you there.
Well, where I was going with Killer Mike is this being Indigenous Peoples Day, right? One of the tracks off of the last whatchamacallit, Run the Jewels album, look at all those slave masters posing on your dollar.
That song is fire though. That song is
It's fire, but you listen to it and it's like, hey, you're a slave to the thing that enslaved you in the first place. What are you doing?
Bro, that is facts.
Why are you seeking capitalism?
That is facts. But I think he should be asking himself that because he's the one telling people to seek capitalism.
I agree. But like that's where I'm just like I do hold Killer Mike in a slightly different regard. Or like Jay-Z, right? 99 Problems teaches you a lot about how to deal with law enforcement.
And we've always had like because these people are black, they've gone through it, they understand it. But to me, that's what makes them some of the biggest class traders out there, because you understand that, but then you sheep herd people back into that system. Whenever you like worship property the way people do in a capitalist system, what do you need to protect that property?
Force.
Police.
Yeah.
And that's inherently the problem. Like people are always going to value
property over people.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the last thing that we need in the black community. That's the last thing we need to be preaching to. We need to be preaching to each other.
I'll agree.
On its face is hypocritical. Like if you actually like I see, and that's where I think like a lot of black people aren't deep thinkers, politically, and it sucks. I feel like we've definitely been neutered, more than any race in this country politically.
Oh, big facts.
Even like conservative white people, like just think of like the run of the mill, Trump supporter and things like that. They understand more of what's going on than like your run of the mill black person, regardless of whether they're like in the Democratic Party part or the Republican Party or like these independent types and everything like that. Like I feel like they have a deeper understanding of what's going on than most of the, than anybody else. And, other voting blocks like the Latino community and the Asian community. Yeah.
Well,
and
okay, getting a little bit sidetracked here. I'll say this with the Latino and Asian communities, they're much more diverse than the black community.
I get what you mean, because they're from like different regions. Like you have just within the Asian community, you have Chinese, Japanese, Vietnamese, like
Filipino, Korean, Thai. Like there's a same thing with the Hispanic community. And one thing that I tried to point out to people are like, oh, well, 40% of Hispanics are voting for Republicans. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, because they don't all believe the same shit.
Yeah, that one might not really mean a whole lot. Two, this is people everywhere from, Mexico to Chile and Argentina, right? They're black, brown, yellow, the entire gambit of the human race is Latin America. They're going to come from completely different walks of life, different backgrounds, even Spanish. A Mexican's not going to understand a Dominican, you know?
That is facts.
Like that's
That's facts.
so, and this is one thing both Democrats and Republicans need to understand. When you're looking at blocks of people just by like ethnic or cultural background, you're going to fail. Like Jill Biden saying, um, what the fuck she say? The Hispanic community is just as diverse as the street tacos in San Antonio.
What did she say? Bodegas?
She said she meant to say bodega, but she said Bogota. And I'm like, the
Bogota,
fuck?
yeah.
This is not Bogota, Colombia. No, this is you live 2 hours away from New York City. You drive 4 minutes south. You're in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. You drive 10 minutes to your west. You're in a Mexican neighborhood. The fact that you don't know these people or just how to say the fucking words correctly shows just how out of touch you are.
I mean, even somebody who like lives in Wilmington, like Wilmington is a very diverse place.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Yeah,
4 minutes south from their Greenville mansion, they're in a Puerto Rican neighborhood. 10 minutes east, they're in a Mexican neighborhood.
that's
That's what it
facts. Yeah.
is.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what I feel like. I think that's why Republicans messaging is working better than Democrats, because Democrats are like, specifically trying to target people by identity, where Republicans are trying to target people by ideology, which a lot of these people come from, a conservative background. So,
Of course.
whether we like it or not, you're going to get people that go to that, honestly.
I mean, yeah, no, I mean, just even in the black community, speaking as a black person, we're a fairly conservative people group.
Yeah. I think yeah, and I think that's honestly like that goes into where I think the left, makes a misstep with a lot of that, like embracing, look, you already know I despise liberal culture, but I think black people, for the most part, don't really fuck with that shit like that. I don't agree with it 100%. Like I definitely understand black people wanting to, preserve things like culture and tradition and things like that, because we feel like we've never had that, and we're trying to build that, and it comes off like not even come off. That's what Democrats are trying to do. They're trying to destroy those things. That's what liberalism is trying to do. So I understand that concept, but I also think that the reverse of that is communism and socialism is inherently conservative. Like it always has been. You look at any communist country that's ever existed or socialist country that's ever existed, like all of them are conservative as fuck. Like Nicaragua, for example, has some of the strictest abortion laws in the fucking world.
Which, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with, but on the flip side of it, the colonizers, Spain and Portugal have some of the more laxed social laws in the world.
Yes, especially drugs. I
So
hear like
it's
a lot of the like conservative communist movement, like the MAGA communist movement. That's one of the things they talk about all the time, and I don't agree with it at all. Like they want to like ban drugs and ban like that they don't fuck with anything they consider sexual degeneracy or whatever. And I think that's a slippery slope. While I agree with some of the things that that they say, I think it's a slippery slope when you get into banning things that you don't like based upon your specific ideology, because it's like, okay, you may not like that, but there's other people. Like obviously when we're getting into the extreme stuff, I get that. But even something like marijuana, like it's a big debate
oh,
now because of
facts.
Biden's thing with marijuana. Like, a lot of that movement is talking about like banning, oh, marijuana shouldn't be legalized, it should be banned. I'm like, bro, you live in a country where they lock how many black people have they fucking locked up because of marijuana? You want to continue,
And
basically you want to double down on that?
this is where I do get the more socially liberal aspect of things because inevitably it gets to the point where what is it? Do what I say, not what I do.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, so you have all these. This is one thing that I think does need to be talked about more, right? Hunter Biden. We have hours of video of him smoking crack, right?
Somebody literally edited a video of him doing crack and his degeneracy with 10 crack commandments as the soundtrack, bro.
That's fucking beautiful. That's beautiful. But it's like we have hours of footage of him doing crack. And Joe Biden, after 50 years in public office, is now just starting to come around to decriminalization.
Just decriminal like his that's another thing too. Like I didn't see like most regular people were kind of like, wow, he like because they didn't really understand what that order was that he did. So for those of you that don't know, which if you're watching this channel, you probably do. Biden basically like what did he do? He decriminalized marijuana, basically, or like
Pretty
he was,
much.
or no, he was like pardoning people who were arrested for like marijuana charges or whatever.
Who are in federal prisons. That's
Yeah,
the key here.
because it's a like
Federal
marijuana is a state
prisons.
by state issue.
Mm-hmm. This
So
is not cutting you off, but cutting you off. This is very, very, very similar to Trump's first step to pardon nonviolent criminals in federal lockup. Not state lockup, but federal. Now, mind you, I understand that the president doesn't necessarily have jurisdiction over state issues, and they shouldn't. However, it's kind of one of those things to where, like, you're doing the literal bare minimum.
yeah, and it's like that. Like that's where I kind of like fell off of the Trump wagon because you guys will like shit on Joe Biden, rightfully so, and Kamala Harris for their record with him imprisoning black people, but then you don't do anything really about those issues that they created, and then on top of that, you want to add more law enforcement and more prosecutions. Like one of the main things they run on is like this tough on crime stance. Like y'all sound
Mm-hmm.
just like that nigga back in the 90s. Like, yo, so how is that any different? And especially when you got somebody like Tom Cotton in your party who like straight up he just wants to arrest everybody, throw everybody in fucking jail.
Which is it's stupid. But yeah, no, the whole thing is it's Biden is doing the bare minimum. Trump did the bare minimum. The fact that because we live in such a partisan divide, people aren't going to understand that and are going to buck against it one way or the other is just fucking moronic, in my opinion.
It's moronic. It can be, but I think it's more so people that aren't like you got to remember in America, like most people aren't politically educated like that. Most people don't really understand, the nature of politics, the historical context behind a lot of it. Like most people just see what Trump is saying or what Biden is saying and they go along with that, like it or not. That's how most people make, base their decisions upon. And then obviously, when it comes to the economy, people make their decisions based upon that as well. So
Which is, again, I totally get that, especially the economy aspect of things. But the people love to forget that our politicians are beholden to the same capitalist interest on both parties.
yeah, and that's where I kind of like get into arguments with libertarians and everything because it's like, all right, I can work with y'all on civil rights issues, like they're great on like Assange, imperialism, and things like that. But then when it gets down to economics, it's like, bro, y'all. So not only like do you guys um you guys say that you don't like elites, but your solution to that is basically deregulating things, which fine. I think there's some deregulation that would be helpful, but y'all just want to like put power completely back into the hands of the monopolies because when you deregulate at the level where basically essentially like you just want to get rid of the government, basically, that's like you're setting those people loose. They don't need to pay those people anymore that they've been paying. I think the issue is like we need to be talking about is money out of politics. And it's
Oh,
like
110%.
yeah, whenever we talk
But
about things like Medicare for all, it's the traditional how we going to pay for it, this, that, and the third. Like, those, yeah, it's very true.
okay, so getting a little bit off topic here. Well, we've been off topic, but
I just
you
think
understand
I like to say we quietly just transition to like midterm politics stuff and transition from
facts.
Kanye.
I mean, I'll bring it back around in a second, but uh, Medicare for all, right?
Yeah.
You understand that literally until the 90s, it was like late 80s, early 90s. Blue Cross Blue Shield was nonprofit, right? Like that, it was literally right before we were born. It was
Yeah.
a nonprofit organization. And then I think it was a 2010 Supreme Court decision, only in 2010, where the Supreme Court, I think almost unanimously, said that corporations are people.
Oh yeah, I remember that ruling. Yeah.
So like this has always been a problem, but it became a much more exponentially pressing problem after that.
Yeah, and that I, honestly, that's that and that again, you just highlighted basically like you perfectly encapsulated with that. Like my issue with the economics of libertarianism, honestly, it's like you know you get legislation like that, for example, where you
Hmm.
rule corporations as people because it's pro business or whatever. You know, it's it's not even idiotic. It's just a childish way of looking at the situation, in my opinion, and
If
looking
there
at
was no government, there would be nothing bad ever. You know what? Just if you get rid of the government, you get rid of the middleman. That's it. We have Jeff Bezos as president. That's what it
yeah,
becomes.
pretty much. And that's where it's like for me, like, you know, to kind of tie it back around, that's kind of like talking about the other side of Tweedledee and Tweedledum. That's where it ties into with Candace Owens for me, where it's like
Hmm.
she's somebody who never like it's like, and I wouldn't even like classify her as like a libertarian or anything, but like she, you know, you rarely hear her talk about things like economics aside from like, oh, Biden's economy is like just buzzwords like that. Like, but we never really get into the nitty gritty of that. Oh, the elites are doing X, Y, and Z. Okay, what is your solution for dismantling the elites? Trans kids. Like, like
Yeah,
there's
no,
never
and
any real solutions.
uh, ooh, we do flip flop a lot in topics, but that's kind of where I do see the very socially liberal side of things because, like, identity politics, these people are just being used as political punching bags. That's what it
Oh yeah,
comes
for
down
sure,
to.
for sure.
Like, you can't have an in depth discussion about anything without it turning into, oh, hey, well, look, that person's trans or that person's gay or look what black culture is doing, you know? And it's like, that's by design. It's very much by design. Um, who was it? Fuck. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. 1992, he ran up against George Bush and lost, right? But his concession speech, he basically said, culture will be our Ho Chi Minh Trail to victory. Republican said this, right?
Uh, I'm looking up the
And from my
92. Was that the primary?
yeah, yeah, the GOP primary. I'm blanking on his name. Buchanan, Pat Buchanan. That's what it was.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, Pat Buchanan basically, by saying that, coalesced a lot of what was going on in the 90s, right? Well, 80s and 90s and 70s and all before then.
Mhm.
But, you know, what's really interesting to me is like back to the whole culture thing. When you see Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens criticizing hip hop music, this is Tipper Gore and the PMRC in the 80s. Like
You're going to have to
it's the
break that down
same
for me.
argument.
I don't even know what that is. You're going to break it down for me.
Ooh, so in the 80s you had Tipper Gore and Nancy Reagan, right?
Mhm.
Who basically co-headed this chair um to censor music and music videos, right?
Oh,
Like
okay. Okay.
D. Snyder and Twisted Sister, Uncle Luke and Two Live Crew were like the two biggest like names that got hit.
Oh man, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So where I'm going with this is like their criticisms of how hip hop and rap music and black culture are toxic and vulgar can be traced back to that. And
I
I'm bringing
mean,
up
that's
Tipper
kind of like
Gore.
isn't that like in the same vein of like what they were trying to do to NWA?
Yeah, it's the same thing. But I'm bringing up Tipper Gore because she's Al Gore's wife,
Oh shit.
Democrat.
Facts.
And it's like it's the same argument just rebranded for white people, conservative white people.
Well, it's crazy you brought that up. I'm trying to find it now so we can peep this shit.
Oh
Damn.
god. How bad is it?
Oh, you're gonna hate it. I already know you're gonna. All right, I found it. Yeah, I already know you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it, but I think it's gonna be. I think it goes with what we're talking about right now. So I'm going to share it. And I'm sharing that right now, but yeah.
Oh god damn it.
Can you hear it?
Oh, I can't hear it, but I've seen clips of this.
Hold up.
Mind you, a clip's a clip and it could be taken out of context, but like this guy enjoys being taken out of context.
Oh yeah, for sure. Clearly. Let me. I think it's the way I have to do it. Give me 1 second. Because I think I think it goes with what we're saying, and it's like I think it's fascinating with, it goes with what you're talking
The
about.
amount of irony,
Exactly.
I think, is yeah. Oh goddamn! Wait,
Can you see it now?
I can see it.
Can you hear it?
Multimillionaires.
Yep.
Was aspired to be like.
Should young men aspire to work very hard, have no criminal record, become multimillionaires, protect and provide for the women close to them, be sovereign so they can stand up and have their own points of view in face of cancellation, be able to not be mentally intimidated when they go on national TV and there's traps set up for them? Yeah, I believe that confident, strong men who stand up and protect women are a good thing for the world and a good force for the world. And I don't think that I put a magic spell on anybody. I think there's a whole bunch of men in the world who understands my value. And if men grow up to be like me, you're going to have a whole bunch of people with no criminal record, dedicated athletes who protect and provide for the people close to them, are fantastic for the economy. And I'm certainly not the worst influence out here, Piers. You have Little Nas twerking on the devil, which our children are digesting. You have drill artists singing about stabbing people to death in the middle of a knife crime epidemic. You have rabid psychopaths on whether the right or the left announcing violence on the other side. You have all these insanities in the world. And because I sit here and say, perhaps now you've laid it out and it offended you, I understand.
I didn't say it offended.
Okay, cool.
I just read you the things.
You read things that you said they could be offensive, and some people are offended.
Well, some people definitely were offended.
Absolutely. That's fine.
And honestly,
all right, I think that's
genuinely
because I just wanted to get that off. So,
oh goddamn!
What are your immediate thoughts on watching that?
I think I just lost like quite a few brain cells. Like, I think like hitting nitrous oxide would be better for my health.
Maybe, but what makes you say that though? Go into that.
Oh god, what makes me say that? Lil Nas X twerking on the devil.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Like, you mean to tell me AC/DC didn't write Highway to Hell?
Very true.
Like, you're picking on these cultural things, like, oh, people are talking about drill artists are talking about stabbing each other in the middle of a knife epidemic. Okay, Bob Marley wrote I Shot the Sheriff.
I shot the sheriff. That's my shit. That's my
While
shit.
people in Jamaica were shooting at sheriffs. So like,
yeah. But my thing is like, look, I agree with him on the part about strong men, things like that, blah blah blah. Obviously, I disagree with him.
Great, but like,
obviously, I disagree with him on the Lil Nas X part. But the part I wanted to get into was what he said about drill music, and I think he was kind of referencing like American drill music as well, and that's where it's like, we've recently seen like Eric Adams, he banned like a couple of drill artists from Rolling Loud in New York recently,
which is I hate Democrats, but
and how do we? But I've seen two conversations about that. So I've seen people say that like, is this the Emmett with like all these rappers getting like we saw what happened with PNB Rock? Obviously XXX Tentacion. I'm pretty sure I'm drawing a blank on another rapper who was shot and killed recently. I can't think of the names right now. It's been so many.
Yeah, it's really
Like, wasn't
unfortunate.
yeah, Kodak was shot recently too, not too long, like last year, I think, or some shit like that. Like, you got all these different rappers out here. Yeah. You got all these rappers out here getting shot because of this type of music. King Von is another perfect example. You got all these rappers getting shot and killed because of their music, and this spike in violence contributing to it. Hang on. I'm almost done. Like, I'm not saying censor them, but what I am saying is we need to really have an in-depth conversation about what type of culture we want to push. And also in tandem with that, we do need to have a conversation about what led to that music being created in the first place.
I think that's the more important part, but to go off of what you were saying, especially with like a PNB X, what was his name? Memphis rapper who died recently.
Oh, Young Dolph.
Dolph.
Yeah.
Those three, it was robbery. It was basically, from my understanding, them being in the wrong place, wrong time. Pop Smoke, Nipsey Hussle.
But you can't say wrong place at the wrong time because they're in their neighborhoods, literally. The only one you could probably say that about was PNB. Pop Smoke was at his Airbnb. Nipsey was at his own fucking store. Young Dolph was going to get cookies for his mom at a restaurant he was investing in for the neighborhood.
Yeah, no, like what I mean by wrong place, wrong time is like, well, more so how do I say this? They were killed because someone wanted to kill them. Someone, for whatever reason, felt angry enough to squeeze that trigger. I don't think that necessarily has to do with the music. I think it's not to be that black person, but I think a lot of it has to do with crab and bucket mentality.
Oh no, I feel you, and I agree. I agree in part with that, but same way you say that, I think it is worth exploring this. Now, no, don't take this as me saying we need to censor these young men. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is we really need to have a conversation about this. And I think this kind of circles back, and I'm gonna try not to segue it. I'm gonna try and keep it on here, where they don't have the role models, and you'll say people like look at me and say, What do you mean? They got people like Jay-Z, Jadakiss, Nipsey when he was here, like all of the, but they have all these black capitalists to look up to. I think
didn't Jay-Z shoot his brother or some shit?
Yeah, but I don't think that necessarily pertains to the point I'm trying to make.
It doesn't, but like what I'm trying to say is, like, as much as I do love Jay-Z's music, this is someone who sold crack in his own community to make away.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm
like. There's a certain level of ruthlessness that he comes from.
Yeah, that's like my main beef. And while I think it is very important to ask the questions of, what led to a young Jay-Z to get in that position? What economic constraints have we created via capitalism in these communities for somebody to resort to something like that? I think that's the ultimate thing we need to be exploring. While at the same time, with Jay-Z being a black billionaire and capitalist now, while you have that back, like, you're not giving back to your community. Go look at Marcy and see how it looks. You feel me? Like, you're not doing anything for black people.
It's getting gentrified.
Basically, yeah. And Jay-Z's helping that. Jay-Z's helping that. Him and Will Smith were investing in like basically this like property laundering scam, like those websites where it's like, oh, we're gonna help people get affordable housing, but as soon as they can't, they miss their rent one time, they're having to rent one time, they're gone, and next thing you know, a white person's moving into the apartment, and next thing you know, oh, we're fixing the block up, and now it's a fucking Haagen-Dazs.
There's a kombucha shop. Yeah, like what the
fuck? Oh yeah. So
don't get me wrong, kombucha is dope, but
yeah, then you got fucking Vice running pieces about, oh, look at all the electric bikes in this old Marcy neighborhood. Like, like that's the type of shit Jay-Z does. It's not helping the community.
He's not helping the people.
The people, yeah. I think this is a dope comment. What he said, Jay-Z is an amazing example of how once you make enough money in America and all is forgiven. Soul crack starting out, it's cool chilling with Obama now. I think that's a great comment. I threw it up on the screen.
Thank you,
that's
Tyler. Yeah, no, that's very valid.
yeah. Oh, he put what it did. He said could make a 40 off a one round will beat that. Nah, I'm not gonna front. That's kind of ill, boy, but still,
Nah, wait, hold up. That fucking
what
that
song
like
is that line
8 minute
from, Matt?
verse.
What song is that line from?
I don't fucking know.
You don't know?
Right now, I'm thinking of anime theme music. Like
I
that's
just
what
told you what the
is
song was,
left of
bro.
my. What?
I just told you what the song was. You
What's the
don't know.
song? Fair.
You don't know what you're
Nah.
doing.
What was I gonna say? That 8 minute verse he had on that Khaled song where what do you say? Honestly, I fucking forget.
I didn't
But
even listen. I didn't even listen to that new song yet. Honestly,
I peeped it in my homeboy's car because like we had nothing to do that day.
where
But
I usually avoid Khaled personally.
I mean, hey, it dope verse, but I'm saying all this to say Jay-Z has openly admitted, like, oh yeah, I started selling crack in the kitchen. Um, fuck. I'm trying to remember how that bar goes. What was it? Only thing Hove need was a stove or some shit.
Yeah, like, but that
Yeah,
but that's kind of adding to what I'm saying. Those are the role models these niggas have. So
which
it's like that's where we need to really get into as especially like nobody's going to do it for us as the black community, to start really looking at how we're going to solve these economic issues. And I think niggas like Jay-Z and a lot of people talk about the Black Panthers all the time, but they never talk about the collectiveness of what the Black Panthers
the Black
believed in
Panthers.
and stood for.
I think, yeah, no, I think that is very valid, and that's something that I haven't really. The role model aspect is something I haven't really thought about a whole lot. But I think when it comes to collectivist action, um, we've been liberalized.
Oh yeah, for sure. We've been like, there's no like the main through line between the liberal and the black liberal and the black conservative is rugged individualism. That's the through line right there when it
Which
comes to economics.
the ideal of rugged individualism isn't bad, but the way it's been practiced in America is might is right. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, my like that's that fucking, whether it's on the right, you have the Ayn Rand libertarian, mindset behind that. On the left, you have more like the Nietzsche mindset of that, that type of ideology and thinking. And I think it's been, corrosive, to America and especially to the black community. And
Well,
that's literally what, that's the crabs in the barrel mentality.
going to Ayn Rand and Nietzsche, right? This is the reason why I can't understand why people idolize Ayn Rand. She listed one philosopher as being her influence. Literally, the only person she said ever mattered was Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's where you get Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugs and all that shit from.
Yeah. And that's like, that's the basis on, a lot of our politicians, when it comes to how they're taught to legislate and things like that, and their beliefs in legislation comes from. That is the root of it. This inherent, might is right. Oh, it's the select few good, the select righteous people, the superior man against the rest of the chattering animals, blah blah blah. Like, that's the mentality these people believe in, and it makes sense when you look at the outcomes of what their policies has bred, which is austerity. Basically, that was the ultimate goal of these policies all the time, was to starve out the working class and enrich only a small few select group of people.
Right. Which is, I mean, bringing this back to corporations or people. It's what this is. Like, I don't know how I'm not going to say that Elon Musk as a person is a bad person, right? Not going to slander anyone. However, I do think it's very, very peculiar how literally all of his business ventures are backed by government subsidies. Like that's, and we as taxpayers are very much okay with it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he's literally like, that's yeah, you're right. That's what his company models have all been built up off of. That's why, like, is like the people that are like, licking his gooch right now because he's about to buy Twitter. I'm like, yeah, yeah. I wonder if you're still going to be licking his gooch when he tells you you have to like, take a picture of your driver's license to access your fucking Twitter, because that's what he's talking about right now. That's the whole. People don't realize that. Like, people are, oh, Twitter is mostly bots, blah 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 blah. Cool, but that doesn't mean we should. We need more identification. Verifications to use a fucking app. Like, that's insanity. That's
I
crazy.
mean, for what it's worth, living in the gig economy, to access any sort of like literally, I just signed up to be a DoorDasher, right? That's something you need to do. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I like this. I mean, I get it, but for me to just access a Twitter account, it's fucking ridiculous. Though I think what was the right wing fucking, was it Rumbler? It wasn't Rumbler.
Rumble,
Nah, there was a right wing
Parler.
app. Yes. To access a parlor, that's what you needed.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. Like that's the reason why I didn't create a parlor. Like I was going to go through with it, and then I'm like, oh, these people would know who I am, and I have viewpoints that are contrary to theirs. I, looking the way I do, am not going to gel with quite a few of those people. And if my driver's license is out there with my address,
Wait, you have to use your driver's license to sign up for fucking Parler?
yeah, yeah.
That's nuts. Hold up. I have to look that up. That is nuts if that's true. I'm not gonna lie, no offense. I don't know if I believe that.
I mean, okay, I'll say this much. It was true in January of 2021.
I'll look it up later. I can't find nothing about it. That would be nuts. That's nuts if that's true.
Though, like I said, it was true in 2021. I don't know what it's like now. I haven't been on Parler. I haven't tried to be on Parler.
Holy shit, man. That's nuts. But yeah. Oh my God, man. So anything else you had thoughts on? There was another video I wanted to do, but we're coming up on like an hour now. So I'm like, fuck it. I'll just save it for the next stream if we do another stream soon. So
Okay, so really quick, back to the whole Kanye thing, because we got really, really off topic. Good role model, but I think it's important to understand just kind of you shouldn't idolize celebrities, one. And two, the whole White Lives Matter thing. White people have subscribed to an ideology in which their lives do not matter.
I agree wholeheartedly. Capitalism. You're a number. You're to serve profit and drive capital. When you willingly give yourself to that system, I have no fucking sympathy for you.
So one thing
whatsoever.
I would love to challenge conservative whites to do, be more vocal on police violence against other white people. Because surprisingly, they're silent. If
Well, I would
White
say
Lives Matter,
libertarians are good on that. Libertarians are good on that. I'll give them that.
I mean, fair. That's libertarians, which they're not your average conservative, but
Dude,
again,
actually,
it's the whole business end that
Nah, go ahead. My bad.
well, nothing really, just like the whole business thing or how they view corporations is where I just diverge with them. But what were you going to say? My fault.
I want to watch this video because I think it's interesting. I think I told you about this, but I don't know if I sent it to you or not. It's like mine sent through like a 10-12 minute video.
You sent it. I didn't get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, I'm gonna play it right now on the channel.
All right.
while we're on here because I think it's fascinating. So you know of RBN, right? The
Yeah.
Revolutionary Blackout Network. So they
Mm-hmm.
invited one of the lead guys on. Let me know if you can hear it right now.
Pierre blamed the current.
Yep, I hear it.
All right, cool. They brought on the guy, one of the founders on it. His name is Nick Cruz, and they were having a conversation about the what is the White House press secretary, Jean, whatever her name is. I forgot what her name is, but they were having a conversation with her about her basically condemning communism and condemning Republicans, using immigrants fleeing from communism, as pawns on a political chessboard. And that was the root of the conversation. So I guess I'll just play the video. Let me know if you want me to stop it at any point to comment on it. All right.
All right, go.
Because I think it's fascinating.
Crisis on a flow of migrants fleeing authoritarian regimes in Latin America, and chastised Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for exploiting, quote, victims of communism by flying them to Martha's Vineyard. Let's watch.
Let's remember, these folks are fleeing communism. When you think about Venezuela, what's going on in Venezuela, when you think about what's going on in Nicaragua, when you think about what's going on in Cuba, they are fleeing political persecution only to be used as a political pawn by.
No, she's saying this while they're trying to prosecute Julian Assange journalist.
By the Florida
Yeah, no.
governor. The way that we
Go ahead.
I'm losing so many brain cells.
And no, my thing is, and Nick brings this up, how does she sound any different than any press secretary in any fucking administration? Like,
She's black.
so it's different because she's black and she's gay and she's a woman.
Oh, she's gay too?
Yeah, she's gay.
Oh, good for her. But like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
and I don't get how she like can sit. I don't know how she can serve in this administration being Haitian and what the Biden administration is doing to Haiti right now. She's Haitian as well. So we should talk about that next stream. We should talk about that next stream.
Oh, yeah, no, because Haiti is actually asking for police aid right now.
So
which
let's go ahead and get that. I don't trust that at all. But let's
continue. My fault.
DC is alerting Fox News and not city or state officials about a plan to abandon children fleeing communism on the side of the street is not burden sharing. That is not the definition that we see of burden sharing. It is a cruel, premeditated political stunt. That is not what that is what they are doing. And so we're always happy to have conversations about ways to further improve border processing, and we could be doing more.
Joining us now to discuss his reaction is co-founder of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, Nick Cruz. Glad to have you with us, Nick.
Thank you for having me on.
So we want to ask you about this question of how much communism is really to blame for the immigrants who have chosen to leave Venezuela. Is the press secretary here accurately describing the motives for so many people leaving the country? What's been going on there?
Bro, pause it. Pause it. I don't even need to hear what he's saying, but just the way he smiled, I'm like, yeah.
Bro.
Like, we on the same page, bro.
He ate in this debate, bro. He was eating on this debate, bro. You ever watch a freestyle online and you think a nigga really spit? You like, damn. That's the face I had this whole debate, bro. Because like it wasn't supposed to be a debate, but the guy on the right turned it into a debate and he got fucking demolished.
Reaction.
Oh, by the way, the chick on the left, you should check her show out. She has a show on YouTube. It's cool. There's things I disagree with her on, but I'll send you a link to her channel. She's pretty dope.
All right.
I saw that. I was thinking, like, is that Sarah Huckabee Sanders? There's literally no difference there between the Biden administration messaging on this issue and Trump's messaging on this issue as well. There's no difference between a Jen Psaki or a Stephanie Graham or the Kareem Jean-Pierre and the Sean Spicers. It's the same thing. The same way that U.S. foreign policy doesn't change between presidents at all. And the idea you're going to blame communism instead of U.S. intervention, all three of those countries she named are countries that the United States have put sanctions on and interfere with. And this is kind of the same thing that Chomsky was saying as well. When you look at Donald Trump and you look at Joe Biden, they mostly have the same foreign policy when it comes from seeking regime change in Venezuela, sponsoring genocide in Yemen, cozying up with Saudi Arabia, funding and shielding the apartheid state of Israel, their hardline stance on Iran, and escalating with China. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. How can you blame an economic model for the failures and what happened to the citizens when you guys are illegally seizing their assets and not allowing them to sell their oil on the international market? You had the Bank of England who had
and motherfuckers swear it's a free market.
That's always been my argument. Like, if you're
tell me how the make it make fucking sense.
That's always been my argument, bro. If it's a free market, why are we blocking people from the free market? And going off on his point though, it's kind of funny now. Like, he mentioned Saudi Arabia. Like, I don't know if you heard, OPEC is basically decreasing production along with Russia, Russia and the rest of the other countries. So,
which is, I mean, we're going to get a little bit off topic, but like, a country shorting their oil supply is what originally got us into this issue in the first place. We began to shorten what, 2018?
Not yet. Yes and no, because we're still, like I said, like I was having a debate with somebody on Facebook. We still are, the largest like producer in the world of producers of oil in the world. The problem with us is that we use more than we produce. That's the issue. So we do have to some extent.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Now, people have made arguments like
import.
Yeah, people have arguments. Well, maybe we can do more in terms of drilling. I'm like, yeah, sure. Maybe Biden, put in canceling some contracts is an issue, but like, are we not going to talk about all of the drilling on federal lands that he's allowing now that he promised not to? Like, are we not going to talk about all of the drilling they're doing in the Arctic right now? Go ahead.
I mean, again, this being Indigenous Peoples Day, the fact that they were going to do it not only on federal lands but on tribal territory, not really a fan of that.
Yeah, exactly, and that's
that,
and that's the argument. Like, that's the part people don't understand. Basically,
there's that, and then one that would be even crazier.
What's that?
If maybe we made good with Iran and like they helped us out with oil production.
I don't. I would like to. No.
It's never going to happen. But
no, that's what they were doing. They were trying to fast track the nuclear deal actually because of that. So prior to this whole Ukraine thing kicking off, and I'm not going to go into the weeds with that, but the talks on the nuclear deal with Iran had stalled. But then when the oil prices started skyrocketing, you saw basically Biden sent the envoy to Venezuela. And then they started restarting talks on the nuclear deal as well. They in terms of that. Now, I don't know what happened. I know Professor Morandi, I believe that's his name, was talking about it on his one channel I watch. He was saying that they stalled for there's not one reason why they stalled, but they just stalled. I personally would like to think there's like some things in terms of like what we're seeing with Israel and Lebanon right now. They might be going to war soon because of gas field disputes and everything.
There's that. There's Saudi Arabia, who absolutely hates Iran. But where I was going with this is, and
I don't know if they hate them as much anymore.
Perhaps not. But where I was going with this is, it's like, if we didn't meddle in so many countries, we'd have more friends. Like, I found it really funny how during the beginning of this Russian-Ukraine conflict, you have Biden now trying to be cool with Venezuela, and it's like, didn't we try to overthrow their government just like 2 years ago?
I thought he wasn't. I thought Maduro wasn't the president, though. Oh, funny how that works. Funny how that works.
Yeah. Like, it's just like one of those things where, like, if maybe, just maybe, we played nice, people would want to play nice with us and respect us and maybe help us out a little bit. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit too optimistic here, but my fault. Continue the video.
Yeah.
They just had a sham trial where they said, we were like, oh, well, the $1 billion in gold that we stole from Venezuela, we had the right to do that. And it's very telling that you see the same colonial powers, whether it be the UK, Germany, and the United States, imposing their imperial conquest ambitions on the global South. They think they have the right to ruin the lives of Venezuelans, for example, and other countries because they reject their capitalist imperialist political agenda. The Venezuelan people 100% knows what's going on. That's why Nicolas Maduro is stronger than ever. And this is another example of U.S. sanctions failing. They know the United States government is trying to take them down to install far right-wing fascists that is mostly white, that is mostly bourgeoisie, that has been waging an active class war against Venezuela. When you look at Nicolas Maduro and the socialist revolution that started 20 years ago, that is mostly supported by Black, indigenous, and poor people. And you have the white bourgeoisie who in charge of the media for, backed by the United States, backed and supported by the United States. So it's the height of irony. The Democrats and Pierre, they complain about January 6th. If you look at the coups they sponsor in these countries that she listed, that January 6th is child play compared to what we do to Venezuela. We back Bolsonaro, who used to send death squads into Venezuela to assassinate and kill Maduro supporters. You have the hard far-right fascists in Venezuela that was setting left-wing supporters of Nicolas Maduro on fire in the streets. These are the people that we support. So the idea that you're going to blame an economic model instead of our actions is ridiculous on face value.
Okay, look,
note. He said he lists all these things, right? Whether it's
God, the
seizing...
look on his face right now, it's just like
yeah.
I'm either sneezing or coming face. He's probably about to come really hard to, I don't know. I'm trying to think of like some Adam West type, or not Adam West, Adam
Shit
Smith
out of capitalism's dick right now, man. Oh my fucking God. I can't wait till the capitalist cum just blows all over my fucking face. But he lists all these things, whether it's the UK seizing their gold, whether it's the United States trying to constantly overthrow the government, all these things he lists. Now, listen to his response. But you were about to say what, Matt? My bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'm just looking at this comment. Imperialism is the highest stage of capitalism, which is monopoly capitalism on a global level. Yeah. Hard agree, but my fault. Continue.
Oppose many of the policies you just mentioned, the support for regime change. I would get rid of all these sanctions too. But let's not gloss over the long history of corruption and political persecution by left-wing regimes in all of these countries as well. Under policies that have totally immiserated Cuba and Venezuela.
Oh, he's going to eat this shit up. Continue.
When I first saw this, that got me. I'm like, oh, he's about to fuck him up, bro. He's about to fuck him up, bro.
It's on and on and on. I think it's laughable to say it's all the U.S.'s fault.
So Cuba has a higher life expectancy than the United States, a higher literacy rate, a much better healthcare system, despite the fact that the United States stole billions of dollars from them. So I'm asking you, Robbie, what's the excuse for the United States? Of course, there are always missteps that governments make, but the United States is the richest empire that we ever seen. 1 out of 5 children live in poverty in this country. If you look at Skid Row, I am asking you, what is the excuse for the United States? You have Venezuela, you have Cuba, you have all these countries that has been the victim of U.S. economic war that you guys call sanctions. Sanctions is seized warfare. You guys locked out Venezuela from the international market. You blame their economic system. We have the record amount of income inequality in this country that is higher than the
So, I mean, the collapse of American cities under progressive liberal democratic regimes is not really an indictment of...
Oh my God. Stop. The indictment against... Wait, we still on? God damn it. I think we're lost.
I'm back. My bad.
Or
Internet.
maybe not.
Now we were.
Nah. Yeah, I'm just kind of the fact that he's bringing up progressive liberal city. Okay. Just even on the most local of levels, this is failing us.
Yeah, and that's why I laughed. I don't know if you heard me because I think
I
I cut
heard
out at
you
that point.
laugh, but like,
But and that yeah, go ahead. My bad.
I'm just kind of like huffing paint is better for my health right now. Literally,
And that,
like this is just like,
but that's the thing. They just want to like
how much more of a brain dead take?
they want to side skirt.
Muffle.
No,
Continue.
I was saying they want to sidestep, the policies. This isn't a left or right issue. This is a capitalist issue. This is an economic issue. This is a how we structure our economy issue. And it's like the way they're trying to frame it is like basically, oh, like how Trump says, look at democratic cities, da da da. I'm like, bro, you keep talking about democratic cities. Like you do know that Mississippi, based on not just polling but based upon actual hard data that we have, economic data that we have, like Mississippi like is like the conditions people experience in that country are similar to what people in what we call third world countries experience. If Mississippi were to be taken out of the United States and put anywhere else in the world, it would be a red state.
Yeah, no. What's also really sick about the structure that we live in, someone like a Brett Favre can steal millions of dollars from people who actually need it to further his own personal goals. And we've allowed it to
Shallow
happen.
goals at that, to build a fucking stadium for your daughter to play fucking volleyball in.
But like, I'm only bringing this up because he brought up Mississippi, and I'm like,
Yeah.
So Mississippi, a red state, is allowing a multi-millionaire to steal money from the poor, and you're complaining about progressive liberal cities. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly how I felt too, bro. I'm just like, really, bro? And I brought up that point because I'm like, I feel like they want to like in the conservative and libertarian brain, they're just like, oh, these issues, like whether it's crime, whether it's poverty, whatever it is, this only exists in liberal and democratic, liberal progressive Z, where it's like, all right, you guys want to point to like country, like states, like whether it's Texas or Florida to some degree as like these economic, safe haven beacons because you practice this unfettered capitalism, capitalist, shit that y'all do. But it's like how many red for every one Texas, how many like red states are there? And I feel like, and again, we base most of the economic standings off of how upper middle class and rich people are doing. So I would like to see how poor people in Texas are living, how lower income people in Texas are living.
It's interesting that you brought up Mississippi because the South is the fucking South.
Yeah.
So you got places in Texas, mind you, I haven't spent a whole lot of time in Texas, so I'm only speaking from some of the shit I've seen, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Texas being the state that it is, places in Texas, eastern part of Texas, the slums look close to Mississippi, right? Same thing with the northern part of Texas too, right? Houston, the slums look like the slums of New Orleans, or for reference to us being in the Northeast, it looks a lot like a Philly.
Yep.
You go to West Texas, the slums look closer to Mexico, just because the culture. I mean, it's not simply because of the culture, but like I'm using Mexico because I was in El Paso, and it's Mexico. You know?
You still there?
But yeah, I'm still here. What was the last
Okay,
thing you
good.
heard me say? My fault.
The slums of West Texas look like Mexico mostly because of the culture, but not the culture. And then you cut out.
Yeah, no. They look like the slums of Mexico. Like, it's for capitalistic reasons, but I'm saying Mexico because, like, for all intents and purposes, El Paso, Texas is right by Juarez. It's Mexico.
Yeah, Mexico essentially. Yeah.
Like, so people are, even from just a Texas perspective, like, fuck, even Florida, for all of the capital and wealth in that state, you got hoods in Florida.
Yeah, go to Broward County.
You know? And this isn't for, this isn't for, people who, they're lazy, they don't want to work. There's no opportunity for them,
Pretty much.
you know?
But let's go ahead and hop back in the video. It's like halfway through right now. And this is where it actually starts getting good.
Policies or capitalist policies. I mean, we get to the if
The
it's so
United
great
Nations
in
looked at
Cuba,
red
why
states
are they
and found that
fleeing
they
here?
live
Why
in
are they
third world
crossing
conditions.
shark-infested waters?
Well, Robbie, the point that Nick is making is that look, if you really think it's the economic systems in Cuba or Venezuela that are so destructive, why not lift sanctions, let them sink or fall on their own merit, and then we could have a legitimate conversation about whether communism fails. But what so many people on the left are frustrated with is that there has never been a communist or socialist government that has been allowed to freely test the model without the economic war, I love how you put it there, Nick, against them that basically rigs the game from the start.
There's also never been a communist regime that doesn't imprison political dissenters, cause deliberate famines, kill millions of people.
Are you saying that we don't? Are you saying that we don't?
I am not. Are you saying that the communists don't? No, I've indicted all of our policy. This is why we can never have honest conversations. I will criticize everything that we do, everything the capitalist West governments do, and they say, "Oh, so you're not criticizing them?" I'm saying all the sanctions are bad, and then you turn around and excuse political repression under thug-like communist regimes that have killed millions and starved millions. It's ridiculous.
But wait a minute, Robbie.
It's insulting.
Nobody here.
It's insulting.
The political oppression, because I think the observation that I think
because you don't want to talk about it. You don't want to concede that it's true.
I'm literally trying to, if you just let me get the sentence out here, Robbie. I think what Nick and I are pointing to is that political repression, all kinds of authoritarian abuses, those are things that exist around the world regardless of political orientation. However, those things are only those things are only brought up. The overwhelming majority of countries in this world are capitalist, and most of the bad things that are happening in this world are happening under capitalism. However, capitalism is never blamed for the bad things that happen in a country. Everything that happens in a communist country, per Karine Jean-Pierre's statement, is attributed to communism. You're talking about per capita. America has the largest number of people incarcerated, living in cages, in jails, and anywhere else in the world. Not per capita, but period. Despite it not being anywhere near the largest country in the world, we have more people in jails than China. And you can say and dispute Chinese numbers and what's true and what's false and blah, 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 blah. But nobody can dispute the fact that we have an unprecedented and enormous mass incarceration problem. So this is not to excuse anything anywhere, but the point still stands. If you think that communism and socialism are such a unmitigated disaster, why is it that they have not been allowed to go ahead and run their own countries into the ground without American political interference?
Yeah, we shouldn't have American political interference. I agree. I say it every time on this show, but they would not be thriving on their own and have never thrived on their own.
So you realize that U.S. state policy, when they put Cuban embargo on there, was to destroy the economy because they didn't want to show an alternative to capitalism. If you capitalists are so confident that communism will fail, why won't you leave it alone, Robbie? Why won't you guys leave it alone?
I mean, I'm not in charge of the policy of the country, man. I would rescind all of the sanctions tomorrow.
Well, Nick,
and you can't claim that these countries are also authoritarian, because imagine what would happen. And you saw Democrats right now prosecuting January 6th protesters. You had the CIA literally sponsor death squads in Venezuela that try to overthrow the president. Do you know what the United States would do if we did the same thing? So get real, Robbie. This is how the real world works. There's no such thing as overt authoritarianism. It's countries upholding their laws. Laws are a thing, Robbie. You can't overthrow a president without consequence.
Well, look, and I think that Robbie does, appreciate that. And I, to his credit, would, if magically we're president of the United States, and maybe this will get him my vote,
a lot of things would be different.
Would lift sanctions on countries like Venezuela.
Well, I think that's like that's basically the gist of it there. And just that last point he made, I found that kind of interesting, and a point that I've always made on my channel. And I think we've talked about this too, like off stream, but it's like if let's say like Canada's pussy, but let's say in a hypothetical universe, Canada invades the United States. Me and you are not going to have the same rights as we had the day before Canada invaded the United States, right?
Of course.
Exactly.
No, I mean, like, within our lifetimes, right? After 9/11, we got rid of all of the rights.
Yeah, basically, and then it ended with Obama basically repealing habeas corpus.
Yeah, but it's like people are talking about, oh, well, how could you support a repressive regime? Well, people who live on the border, literally within 100 miles of a border, including us, are able to have our phones monitored for national security purposes.
Yeah,
it's just what it is.
Yeah, and even something like what's going on in Iran right now, like people want to talk about women's rights and liberation and things like that, about this woman allegedly getting beat by the morality police, and basically dying in police custody. How many black women and women of color do we know of that have like died in prisons mysteriously without a fucking investigation at all?
Sandra Bland.
She's one that comes to mind. Also, the migrant facilities we have here in the United States, where basically, like it's utter
forced hysterectomies on women.
Yeah, it's utter.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's utter lunacy that we're talking about. Like, we literally have like files, like of people of pedophilia running rampant in our intelligence communities. It's like
files of pedophiles.
Oh,
I'm sorry, I had to.
but we have all of these things within our own borders, and that's not even going into a lot of other countries that we call allies, like Saudi Arabia. So it's like and the UAE and other countries like that. So it's like this concept of authoritarianism. And another point I like to make, I kind of disagree with Bree on that point she makes about, I don't think you should concede that ground to capitalists, and not even on like some, oh no, like I'm not going to give that point to you, blah blah blah. It's like just based off of context and nuance and history. Like, what happened when the Soviet Union formed, when the Bolsheviks took power? What happened?
I mean, there was a lot going on.
They got invaded by like 17 different fucking countries.
Oh, facts.
Like, we never talk about that in the United States. The United States had ground troops in Russia, in the Soviet Union. We invaded the Soviet Union. This is true. We don't talk about these things though. Like, and that's like, again, I'm not a person that's saying that, I'm not advocating for political repression. I'm saying the reality of a situation, if we don't want anarchism, I know a lot of the anarchists are going to get pissed off at me about that, but if we don't want anarchism, if we want law and order, as everybody says, then people have to be held accountable to those laws and to those things. So if you try to overthrow the fucking president, which they tried to kill Maduro like 4 different times. I know there was like one time they tried a stage bombing. There was one time when Trump sent in his little trumpets and everything like that. Those mercs that got caught. Remember that?
That was weird.
Yeah, then there was the Juan Guaido coup. That's 3 times. And I think there was one more instance where they tried to kill him as well. Like, they tried to kill him on 4 different occasions. And it's like,
he's going to clamp down. Like, it's
I'm like,
it's inevitable.
Juan Guaido has is literally by the rest of the world. Like, they literally will not give Venezuela its $1 billion in gold because Juan Guaido is the declared president. In what dictatorship do you know where that guy's still allowed to walk around and go to restaurants and eat out and live his normal life? What dictatorship does that ever happen in?
It doesn't. What's funny is, like, with Guaido, I think 2 weeks after that failed attempt, all over media. Juan Guaido was fearful for his life, but now he's. I mean, yeah, sure, whatever. But like now he's a free person who can do whatever the fuck he wants. And getting to your point, Cuba, right? How many times did we try to assassinate Fidel Castro?
I'm pretty sure we spent like damn near billions of dollars trying to kill Fidel Castro, bro.
Like,
literally.
and I'm getting a little bit off topic here, but we don't necessarily get a Vladimir Putin if we don't meddle and interfere in Russia's 1996 elections.
To ensure Yeltsin wins.
Yeah.
That's the
like,
part.
I don't have an opinion on Putin. I'll just say that. But like, liberals and Democrats are painting him out to be the worst thing ever, and it's like, well,
he's the
kind of created the right circumstances for him to.
Yeah, he's the new Hitler. Like everybody, Saddam Hussein was Hitler, Gaddafi was Hitler. Everybody's fucking Hitler. He's the new Hitler. Assad was Hitler. All of them are Hitler.
And what's interesting, and I will bring up again, I am a DoD asset, so I can't talk too much about certain things, right?
Yeah.
Or have certain opinions, certain things, legally speaking, right?
Yeah.
I will say this. With Gaddafi, right? No matter who I've talked to, left or right of center, if they're in the know about foreign policy, they think it's really funny how we assassinated Gaddafi right after he went off of the petrodollar. So
he went off the petrodollar and was also trying to establish a United States of Africa, economically speaking.
Yeah, it's
where the fucking
the
EU
moment these people
and France can't fuck over Nigeria no more by stealing their natural resources like they've been doing and continue to do. You want to buy anything from Africa, you got to use the African dinar.
Right. It's like the moment a world leader decides to not play by our rules.
Rules-based order.
That's what it is.
Exactly. So yeah, I thought that video was interesting. I thought it was worth checking out. Nick demolished. He fucking demolished that. And also a point I would like to highlight is when he was talking about, like Cuba has a higher literacy rate than the United States. They have a higher life expectancy than the United States. They have a world-renowned healthcare system. What is the United States' excuse for 1 in 5 children going hungry at night? What country is sanctioning us that we can't have a healthcare system that doesn't leave out 60,000 people who die every year because they can't take part in it?
Well, those people just don't work hard enough. If you work hard enough and you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you'll get everything you want in life. If you pray to the good Christian God like I do, you'll get everything you want in life. Please take the sarcasm in that, okay?
No, I did. That's why I'm laughing. That's what a lot of those motherfuckers sound like, honestly.
But it's just fucking ridiculous. Like it's a joke. It's a fucking joke.
He said Randall Wilson is hilarious. Throwing a comment up now.
I mean, this is true.
Famously, she said, "We came, we saw, he died." Ha ha ha! Laughed at her fucking Jabba the Hutt sludge mayonnaise looking ass.
This is also a little bit conspiratorial. This is the last thing I'll bring up, right? Hillary Clinton, Libya, Benghazi, right?
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I do find interesting, and this is me speaking as a free person, conservatives love to bring up, like, oh, Hillary didn't answer the phone fast enough, or like, she didn't give aid to the Marines, whatever, right? The Marines killed in that embassy were killed with weapons supplied by the UAE, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who did the UAE get those weapons from?
United States.
Mm-hmm. It's just like...
It's a similar situation in
Because
Syria. There were literally like stories where they said like they literally had two different jihadi groups that the CIA was funding fighting each other. And at one point, like our own military were engaging like, jihadi militias we were backing. So it's like it's kind of to that effect, basically.
it makes you sit back and wonder, and again, this is the capitalist game, but it makes you wonder, what's the cost? At least as an American, what's the cost? Like, you're willing to kill your own people because you wanted a little bit more money, and Susie wanted a fucking yacht for her birthday. Like,
Exactly.
it's ridiculous.
Exactly, bro. I cannot agree more.
And then you sit here and to bring this all back, you're criticizing communist and socialist countries for their death tolls and their death squads and whatever. Ours might be a little bit more covert, but if we added up the numbers that have died under US imperialism and US capitalism, wonder what that looks like. It's probably in the billions by now.
Yeah, I'd argue trillions.
I can't do math. That's why I'm in the military. I can't do math, but
And that's a point I always make. Like we talk about like the death toll. Like you do know, like for example, the victims of communism, where most of the people get their numbers from, they include German casualties, so Nazi casualties from World War II. They include.
Hey, look, for every literal Nazi that got sniped with a Mosin gun, I'm very okay with it.
I am too.
Fuck you.
I'm very okay with Castro taking your grandfather's plantation.
Facts.
Oh, my grandfather used to own property and the communists stole it, and then you go to Cuba and find out it was a fucking plantation.
And bringing this back to U.S. coups and U.S. intervention, you don't get a Fidel Castro if the United States doesn't bolster and support the blatantly corrupt Bautista regime.
I agree.
Like, it's this constant back and forth to where, like, we're creating our own problems for the sake of creating problems, and then we complain about it. So
see, but I don't like going with that narrative because I don't view like, somebody like Castro or a lot of these leaders we've spoken of as, problems. I feel like they're revolutionaries. That's how I look at them. I look at Castro as a revolutionary. I look at, even somebody like, Assad. I wouldn't call him a revolutionary, but he's somebody I look at as an anti-imperialist. Same thing with like a Putin, a Xi Jinping. A lot of these, leaders that we consider problems. You feel me? Like, so that's just for me. I'm saying for me, I want to distinguish that. I don't view those people as problems. I view those people as allies of anti-imperialists and the anti-imperialist.
I'll agree to that, but what I meant by problem is like we shit on Cuba. This is what, now 60, 70 years after Castro took power.
Yeah, it seems like every war we start, whether it's the war on communism, the war on drugs, or the war on poverty, it just breeds black markets and more of what we're trying to defeat.
Yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. Like, what's the point?
Exactly.
But we've been going for as long as a feature-length film.
Yes, we have, my friend. So I think we should go ahead and call it quits. I enjoyed this, bro. I really like this. I think we should.
So did I. Like,
I actually have a kind of a dope name for it if we do it consistently too. The Sidetrack stream with Bendu and Matt. That's fire, right? That's fire. That's fire.
I'm with it.
But guys, as always, like, subscribe, and share. Emphasis on all that. I'm gonna try and be on here more. I know I've been ghost lately. Honestly, been I don't know, just haven't been feeling talking politics lately. So at least online. So I've just been ghost. But me and Matt might be doing more of these. I might be doing a couple streams on here every now and then. So look out for it. I'm gonna link Matt's. Do you want your social media link down below? I'll put it in
Not yet.
Okay.
I'm still in the process of trying to understand the social media shit. So
yeah. So yeah, so unfortunately, right now we don't have anything for Matt, but we'll have something up in our future stream whenever we do it. You guys already know my shit is going to be down below. It's not there right now. I forgot to put it in the description for Restarted, but I will do that afterwards. Yeah, guys, emphasis on likes, subscribing, and sharing. Comment as well. Randall Wilson, want to thank you for all your comments, bro. It was much appreciated, bro. Man, thank you for showing the love as always. And
Facts.
yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Peace. Easy.